Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Unman Bhattacharya. Coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds emergency meeting at Delhi airport on the Pahalgam terror attack that claimed 26 lives. Home Minister Amit Shah visits Basilica Meadow, site of the incident. Security agencies released sketches of suspected terrorists who killed tourists. A team of National Investigation Agency reaches Pahalgam. Leaders from across the world strongly condemn the terror attack, reiterate their unflinching support for India. Pope Francis's coffin arrives in St. Peter's Basilica for public mourning. US President Donald Trump to attend Pope's funeral later this week. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held an emergency meeting with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar at the Delhi airport immediately upon his arrival from Saudi Arabia, as he took stock of the situation following the terror attack in Pahalgam that claimed 26 lives. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri was also present. Prime Minister Modi cut short his state visit to Saudi Arabia and rushed back to India after the news of the terror attack surfaced. The Prime Minister has vowed that those behind the attack will not be spared and will be brought to justice. India's Home Minister Amit Shah visited the Basilica Meadow, which is the terror attack site near Pahalgam. The place is located around 5 kilometers from J&K's resort town of Pahalgam. Home Minister Amit Shah earlier paid homage to the victims by laying a wreath at a poignant ceremony in Srinagar this morning. The Home Minister and Jammu and Kashmir's Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha also met the family members of Pahalgam terror victims. The tragedy that has shaken not just Kashmir but the entire country took place on Tuesday, where innocent tourists were killed, making it one of the biggest terror attacks on tourists in recent years. The Home Minister has reiterated that the culprits of this dastardly terror attack will not be spared. Earlier upon his arrival in Srinagar, the Home Minister chaired a high-level security meeting with all the agencies following the Pahalgam terror attack. Minister Shah vowed that those involved in the dastardly act of terror will not be spared and will come down heavily on the perpetrators with harshest consequences. Security agencies have prepared sketches of 3 of the terrorists involved in Monday's heinous attack. The attack had left 26 tourists dead in J&K's Pahalgam. As the nation is struggling to cope with this tragedy, security agencies are making all efforts to trace the terrorists and unravel the truth behind this horrific attack. A team of the National Investigation Agency has reached the Pahalgam terrorist attack site. The investigation is underway. J&K police is also involved in the investigations. So at least 26 people were killed and several others were injured after gunmen opened fire on a group of tourists visiting Pahalgam, which is a popular destination in South Kashmir, on Tuesday. Among the dead were tourists from several states, including Karnataka, Maharashtra, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. A young Indian Navy officer from Karnal, Lieutenant Vinay Narwal, who had recently married, was also killed in the attack. As news of the terror attack targeting tourists in Kashmir spread, the Resistance Front, or TRF, alias Lashkar-e-Taiba, The banned Pakistan-based terror group claimed the responsibility. TRF is the Lashkar-e-Taiba front. Security across the Kashmir Valley has been increased manyfold after the killing of several tourists in Pahalgam terror attack. The joint combing operation by Army, CRPF and J&K police is underway in the region. The operation has been expanded to 5-kilometer radius from the attack location in Pahalgam. Special forces, sniffer dogs and other technical intelligence means have been deployed to track down the attackers. Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Omar Abdullah bemoaned it was heartbreaking to see the exodus of tourists from the valley following the gruesome terror attack. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Civil Aviation have pressed in additional flights from Srinagar to facilitate the safe departure of stranded tourists. Kashmir Valley observed a complete shutdown for the first time in 35 years on Wednesday to show solidarity with the victims' families and to condemn the attack. All organizations from all walks of life supported the Bandh or shutdown call to protest against the Pahalgam terrorist attack. Let's listen into this report.
Kashmir has erupted in anger and anguish against the dastardly terror attack. Black flags at the historic Lal Chowk in Srinagar, perhaps symbolic of the black day that befell the valley on Tuesday as the attack killed 26 tourists in Pahalgam. Traders across the Union Territory have called for a complete shutdown on Wednesday. The Chamber of Commerce and Industries Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir Hoteliers Club, all travel associations, transporters, restaurant owners and civil society groups jointly called the shutdown. Business communities in Poonch, Jammu and other places also observed shutdown.
कल पहलगाम में बहुत बड़ा इंसिडेंट हुआ है। हमने आज प्रोटेस्ट किया है। जो भी उसमें मुलविस है उनको सख्त से सख्त सजा दी जाए।
Residents are coming out in large numbers, raising slogans against Pakistan. They described the attack on tourists as an attempt to damage the image of Kashmir's hospitality. Tourists are also disappointed with the tragic developments. Some want to return home, while others want to complete the planned vacation.
We didn't feel any insecurity over there. And today also we are roaming very freely over here.
We are staying in Srinagar. We are going to Gulmarg tomorrow and then Gurez and then local sightseeing again Srinagar.
Meanwhile, the front pages of Kashmir's leading newspapers went black, a stark visual protest against the brutal terrorist attack in Pahalgam. The coordinated editorial blackout served as a collective cry of anguish and a call for accountability after one of the deadliest attacks in the region in recent years. Vishal Baristo's report from Srinagar for DD India.
And our correspondents are joining us now. Vishal Baristo is joining us from Lal Chowk in Srinagar and Salman Qazi is also joining us from Srinagar. Vishal, coming to you first. There is a huge outpouring of support for victims of the Pahalgam terror attack we've seen through the day today. Also, a black flag protests have taken place there. This outpouring, many would say, speaks for itself about the sentiment on ground. What more can you tell us?
Well, absolutely, the outpouring speaks for itself. A very good afternoon to you, Munmun. I'm here at the Lal Chowk, which is the epicenter of economic activity here in Srinagar. And let me tell you that the protests have been going on from morning ever since we have reached here. I'll ask my cameraman to show you the visuals. There you see this is the Radio Taxi Association. They are saying that we oppose any kind of attack on the tourists because they know very well that this is the tourist season and this is the time to earn their livelihood. This is the time to earn money. But because of this terror attack, tourists will not be coming to Srinagar. Tourists would be going away from Kashmir, and this is what the nefarious design of those across the border want. And they do not want the nefarious designs of the country that is against Pakistan, that has been always promoting state-sponsored terrorism to succeed, and that is why people from all walks of life, even those who have been victims of terror, people who have become handicapped because of terror attacks, were also seen here opposing, protesting, holding banners in their hands with black flags, with black bands on their arms. They are all protesting this because they know very well what this means to Kashmir, especially
Yes.
After the abrogation of 370, when peace was restored here. Then this has happened, and this has happened after 2019. So definitely a loud and collective cry against any kind of dastardly act.
Absolutely. There is a huge outpouring of support for the victims across the Kashmir Valley today. Well, coming to you, Salman, if you could tell us the latest in terms of the search operations for the terrorists as well as the investigations. We know that the sketches of 3 terrorists have been released. Home Minister Amit Shah had reached the attack site, and the NIA too is there. Can we have the audio of Salman, please?
The Home Minister Amit Shah did take security review meetings of a couple of security review meetings, and he also visited the Baisaran area of the area where the attack did take place. The investigations, what we have been we have been given some sketches, 3 sketches of alleged these perpetrators have been given to us by the security agencies, and there are some of the names that are being
Yes.
given. Currently, the 3 sketches have been released by the various security agencies, and what we have been told is that there were 4 attackers according to the reports, and 2 of these attackers were locals, and 2 of these attackers are supposed to be Pakistanis. And as and when more information regarding these attackers is gets shared, we will share that information with you.
Right, Salman, stay with us. Let's go back to Vishal. Vishal, there is a remarkable solidarity even in the political spectrum in J&K, and not just that, even a separatist like Mirwais Omar Farooq has condemned the attack. Is support for victims, calling out of terrorists and their backers, showing the mainstreaming of the anti-terror sentiment in the valley? Is this in a way unprecedented?
Well, absolutely. This is an unprecedented protest because this is for the first time after 2019 that you can see a complete shutdown, not only in Srinagar, not only in the valley, but all across the state. I'm talking about Jammu and Kashmir. This includes Jammu, Kashmir. And people are protesting because they know what does it mean, because they are saying this is not what Prophet Muhammad has taught. This is defaming Islam. This is against the teachings of Islam. They are saying attacking and killing humanity is not what Islam teaches you. Hindus and Muslims, they are brothers and they all belong to this country. They are all children of this country. This is what they have been saying loud and clear on camera. And they have been protesting because they know that they have suffered the pangs of terrorism for a very, very long time. After 2019, this is the first time that there has been a complete shutdown. There is a total strike here. The people are offering all kinds of help to the tourists. Some are offering free rides to the airport. Some are offering a budget hotel, budget stay. Some are offering free phone calls to their relatives. Some are offering food to people in need. So this is the spirit of Kashmir. In fact, this is the spirit of India. We have seen how India has stood up time and again against all kind of dastardly act. This is not the first time that we have been victim of the state-sponsored terrorism. But yes, after a very long time, the valley has been attacked by the terrorists in the name of TRF, which is the Lashkar-e-Taiba group. And now the world knows how Pakistan has been supporting terrorism for a very long time. Now this terrorism is in the name of religion, and Pakistan has been unmasked before the global community.
Yes,
Munmun?
Vishal, stay with us. Let's go back to Salman now. Salman, we heard Vishal talk about how Good Samaritans are helping people in need, those stranded like tourists who would want to go back to their homes. But tell us about what the administration is doing to help out the surviving family members of the victims in order to bring them back home and to provide all sorts of help in this hour of grief.
And there have been special flights which have been organized to take the bodies of the slain victims back to their home states, and administration is facilitating. Both the government of India and the government of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, both are facilitating the very smooth transportation of these victims back to their respective homes and states. Moreover, the Union Territory, government of Union Territory, they established yesterday. Since yesterday, they have established call centers wherein the information, wherein the tourists can call in, and they'll be facilitated in case they want to be going somewhere. They want to ask certain questions. They want to inquire about someone. So these things have been done to facilitate. Moreover, the airlines have also because there have been some of the tourists have asked that their flights be rescheduled. So somebody who had a flight, say, or tomorrow they wanted to go back. So the additional flights have been arranged by the airlines in conjunction with the DGCA, and there have been instructions and directions from the ministry that there should be these tickets should be priced. These tickets should not be priced exorbitantly. So there have been attempts by both the Union Territory government and the government of India to kind of reassure tourists, to kind of facilitate them, and especially make it sure that the tourists who remain right now in Jammu and Kashmir, they do not get panicky, and the victims and the families, to reassure them and to make arrangements for the smooth transportation of their mortal remains to their hometowns.
Yes, so we leave it at that. Salman Qazi and Vishal Baristo reporting from Srinagar. And there is an outpouring of support for India from the international community as well. US President Donald Trump and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese spoke to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, expressing their condolences for the victims who have died in this terror attack. Russian President Vladimir Putin, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu were among world leaders who condemned the terror attack and reiterated their unflinching support for India's fight against terrorism. Take a look.
Leaders from across the globe have strongly condemned the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir and reiterated their unflinching support for India. US President Donald Trump spoke with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and expressed his deepest condolences at the loss of innocent lives. Earlier, Trump reiterated support for India in its fight against terrorism. In a letter to President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Modi, Russian President Vladimir Putin also expressed condolences over the Pahalgam terror attack. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemned the attack on tourists in Kashmir. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen also condemned the killing of people by terrorists in Kashmir as a vile terror attack and added that India's spirit is unbreakable. Extending condolences to the victims of the Pahalgam terror attack, Israel Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said that Israel stands united with India in the fight against terror. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Muslim World League Secretary General Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Karim Al Issa also condemned the ghastly terror attack in J&K's Pahalgam. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Dissanayake and Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli condemned the terrorist attack and expressed their solidarity with the nation. Ayushi Bhatnagar's report for DD India.
Let's get perspective now on the Pahalgam terror attack. Joining us now for perspective is Lieutenant General Dr. Mohan Bhandari. General Bhandari has served with the Indian Army, and Pravesh Kumar Mishra, former ADG BSF, is also with us. Such a pleasure to have the two of you gentlemen on DD India. I'll begin with you, General Bhandari. How do you see the timing of the JNK terror attack coming as it did when there was steadily growing perception about stabilization of the situation post Article 370 abrogation? Tourism was surging, Amarnath Yatra was about to start, and confidence was rising in the ability of security forces to thwart threats.
Firstly, let me tell you that what you said is okay, but don't forget that the Vice President of the United States is also on the Indian soil. That is number one. And you must have heard about 3 days back the dangerous talk and statement given by Asim Munir, the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan Army. And the third thing, as I look at it, is our Prime Minister's recent visit to Saudi, and he was given such a state welcome where our own plane was escorted by 2 jets on the other side. So all this thing is not seen in good perspective by our neighbor, and it is nothing new. I would like to tell you that even the so-called the Resident Front, which is known as the TRF, this is just to make fool of the environment. This is nothing but a front of LET, Hafiz Saeed. So all these people are the foreigners who are trained, aided and abetted from across the border, and this thing started off well on the 27th October 1947. when the Kabbali's were unleashed on the soil of JNK. So ever since then, we have had these problems of terrorism from our next door neighbor. So let's be very clear about this, because unfortunately you can't change your neighbors. And with Pakistan, you will be amazed that we share a boundary of 3,323 kilometers, and out of which we have 740 kilometers of line of control, and which is only fenced for about 600 kilometers. And we got 201 kilometers of international boundary, and then we got about 110 kilometers of AGPL. So you are very right, this timing has been done with design. I still remember whenever anybody comes from outside, even in the past also you must have seen when the Clintons came, and when the Biden came, it was done by them just to tell them and tell international world that things are not okay, and we must keep alive the issue of JNK. At one time, I remember in US, Pakistan used to say that this is a nuclear flashpoint.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll build on that point in a bit, but Mr. Mishra, coming to you now, there was a reference by General here about the attack that had happened just before the then US President Bill Clinton had come to India. So there was rigorous profiling of victims by the terrorists this time around too. So if we look at the timeline of attacks, then in the last 2 to 3 decades, we see a lot of them have been directed at pilgrims, tourists and minorities in JNK. Would you say no surprises there, given how LET and its fronts operate, a point that General here was making?
Yes, I can well tell you this time which was selected. Definitely it was when our Prime Minister was there at Jeddah, and Mr. J.D. Vance was there. He is there in India. And if we go back before 4 days, what General Munir has stated against Hindus, he wanted to make a conflict in India between these communities. And the way the attack had taken place by TRF, exactly similar way it has happened. And perhaps it was planned at Rawalkot by same Lashkar-e-Taiba Hafiz Saeed, by his second-hand commander Saifullah Kasuri, and of course Sajid Gul is also involved. But we have to see how they have penetrated, which route they have taken, and how they were given shelter, and at which places they were given shelter. Anyway, the NIA is already there, and they are looking into this. But we can well tell that this proxy war will continue until and unless we don't go for an overt operation for every such action by Pakistan in our country. You have seen the Kashmiriyat today. It is the first time the whole of Jammu and Kashmir, they are united. This is the first time all the political parties and complete all Indians from all religions, they are standing behind the government and behind the Prime Minister. And if you see this, the way Kashmiris has come out blaming this militants and particularly Pakistan for interfering and causing violence and killing in a barbaric way our civilians in Pahalgam. This is nobody's way. And the way they are helping the tourists there, it's really, I have never seen earlier this has happened in Kashmir. Kashmir is united. In fact, what the Kashmir is now today, it shows Pakistan that it is difficult for them to take Kashmir, whereas the Pakistan occupied Kashmir will come back to India. But we have to see how the planning has taken place. Who all are the sleeper cells available in Pahalgam and in those areas, particularly in Pir-Panjal and Pahalgam and on top of Pahalgam in those areas. Of course, that has been surrounded by J&K police, army and CRPF. Let's hope for the best that the TRF commanders and particularly two Pakistani militants, those who are involved, and two more Indians, they were there. They have to be apprehended and they have to be killed or they have to be apprehended. But I can well tell you the way the place was selected. You see, the place was frequented by our tourists in numbers where security deployment was the least. And you have to go by ponies or by horses to reach there, and security forces will take minimum 1 hour, 1.5 hours to reach. And they have selected such site. And the worst part of it, they have wrecked also before 2 days of this incident. And coming in Fauji attire, bringing all the sophisticated weapon, it shows that the sleeper cells around Pahalgam, they have helped them in giving them the shelter and also giving them this war logistics to help them and guide them to come and take this initiative. And
so
I
many
can tell
points
you,
to ponder there that you have brought up in your answer. But Mr. Mishra, there are reports now that the Cabinet Committee on Security, CCS, would be meeting. Can you tell us about what really happens in these meetings? I believe you have been part of these meetings in the past. General,
The Cabinet Committee of Security?
Yes.
Right. Firstly, let's see as to who all attend that. It's the Apex Committee of India, known as Cabinet Committee for Security, which is chaired by the Prime Minister. It has got the Home Minister, the Defense Minister, the Finance Minister, the External Affairs Minister, and then it has got the Cabinet Secretary, the Defense Secretary. So, and all three Chiefs of Staffs and the CDS. Now, it is customary to hold this sort of a meeting in the Military Operations Directorate. I hope that it is still done there because there is an access to so many maps and other things in the operations room there. So, at the outset, what happens is that the event is described in details. Now, what has happened in Bisaran? The place is Bisaran, where this dastardly act took place, and then the whole thing will be described in detail. And before anything starts, there is an intelligence brief given by the IB and RAW as to who are the people, what has happened, whether there was a leak, whether there was we couldn't get the intelligence, or all these things are given. Then having said that, then the options are decided as to what to do. Like if you recall, I'll take you back to when we did Balakot. So it was decided then and there that look, they need to be punished.
That was after the Pulwama terror attack.
Yes. So what happens is when you decide the options, now you see you got three very strong components of the services: the Indian Army, the Indian Air Force and the Indian Navy. You never know, the Indian Navy may be tasked this time for something big, along with what is going to happen with the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force, because our armed forces are easily the best among equals in the world. So all these decisions are put as an option there, because that's why so all these people who matter, the ministers, everybody is there, and then they evaluate as to what does it involve. And remember, there are two things which are very important. I feel that if you give an award to somebody, and if you give a punishment, it must be immediate. But having said that, whatever punishment has to be given, it has to be given in such a way, at such a place of own choosing, that it will deter a person like this not to do a similar thing again. But again and again, I like to say that with the neighbor, this methodology, the astonishing regularity of dastardly attacks that continued from 27 October 1947. We had then after that 65 war, 71 war, you saw what happened in 1999, then you saw in Siachen. So they are a frustrated lot. So naturally, they have to do something and make sure that India doesn't do well, Kashmir doesn't come back to its normalcy, and that is why these sort of acts are done. It's sad. It is only, I would say, that very small, a minuscule percentage of people of Jammu Kashmir who are part of it. The majority of the people want to live peacefully. There is no doubt about it. Having spent more than 10 years, I have come across a cross-section of everybody. It is only these people who are imported from outside. And if you go into the history of J&K, post 1989-90, you find it is after Rubia Saeed was abducted.
Yes.
Then the whole thing started off in a big way. Then people came out with the arms on the roads.
Yes.
And when your Hazrat Bal was also, where the terrorists went inside. So then the story has changed. And let's not forget history. We should know as to who is responsible for it. And this, they call it a TRF, is nothing, just to make fool of the environment. To say that it is not residence front. It is very much the foreign element which is trained, aided and abetted by Hafiz Saeed and his people.
Yes. Just a very quick last word from you, Mr. Mishra. The army officers have been quoted as saying that the terror infrastructure is very much intact in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. There are training camps there, there are launch pads there, there are jihadi seminaries there, there is a madrasa network there, and all of those elements really feed into the terror infrastructure, which has the full backing of Pakistan's ISI. Right now, there is no definitive conclusion on who really was behind it. We know that the Lashkar front has taken responsibility for this, but with time we will know sooner than later as to who is behind this. But do you think that this continues to be a point of worry for India particularly?
Definitely, I can well tell you that there are camps opposite to our Kashmir in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, particularly in Muzaffarabad and Kell. And we know the absolutely 16-figure grid difference where these jihadi training camps are located and who are funding that and where from the weapons are coming and where are all the launch pads. In fact, like that of Balakot, they should be the targets. All these training camps, jihadi training camps, have to be demolished. We know that these launching pads, they are there through which from the training camp, the trained jihadis having weapons coming from Turkey and China, they are pushed to India, and our Pak army give the covering fire for this. So let us see what action the committee will take today. In fact, PM is chairing, and let's hope, like that of Balakot, after Pulwama attack, here what type of covert operation or overt operations we are taking, and which will be the place and when we will launch it. it all depends upon this meeting and the defense committee, which will be deciding when to make it. But I am sure Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hafiz Saeed and Kaifari and Sajad Gul, they have to be punished, and we have to take the targets very badly. And what General Munir has planned before 4 days, it has come true, and he has planned it well in time when J.D. Vance was there in India and Prime Minister was there at Jeddah. Yes. We have to be careful, but what he thought that he will destroy India's, having a communal disturbance in India, it has not happened. By the way, the whole of Kashmir is now united, and they have shown Pakistan, we are not with you, and we want all these militants to be driven away from Kashmir, and Kashmiriyat is intact, and they are Indians, The way they are helping all those persons, particularly those who suffered it at Pahalgam, and the tourists. Really, I'm heads up and salute those Kashmiri people.
Right.
All of them are helpful.
Absolutely. The entire nation and the international community today is standing in solidarity with the victims of the terror attack. And you are telling us how that outpouring of support within the Kashmir Valley also has been unprecedented. And we know that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that terrorists who are behind this attack will be brought to justice. So we leave it at that, Mr. Mishra, and General, thank you for joining us on DD India. We'll continue for now. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh held a meeting with the chiefs of 3 armed forces in New Delhi to discuss the security situation after the terrorist attack at Pahalgam. In the wake of the tragic terror attack, Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu said that the government has given strict instructions to airline companies to avoid any fare surges. Fares are being monitored and kept at reasonable levels. He also said that all airlines operating from Srinagar have waived off cancellation and rescheduling charges to support passengers. Till 12 IST, Srinagar Airport handled 20 departures with 3,337 passengers. The Indian Army has foiled a major infiltration bid in Baramulla region of Jammu and Kashmir. Heavy exchange of fire between security forces and terrorists was reported when terrorists tried to infiltrate through general area Sarjeevan at Uri Nala. Alert troops eliminated 2 terrorists. A large quantity of weapons, ammunition and other war-like stores have been recovered from the terrorists. The Indian Army said that the operation is still underway. We'll take a breather at this point in time and be back with more news.
We are diving into a transformation story unlike any other. India's ambitious rise as self-reliant global military power. And it's not just ambition, it's action. From warships to weapon systems, startups to strategic doctrines, India is rebuilding its defense architecture. And how it is doing so, to know that, tune into Defense Dynamics on DD India on Wednesday at 8 p.m. IST.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Munmun Bhattacharya. Russia resumed fresh airstrikes following a brief Easter truce. On Wednesday, a Russian drone hit a bus carrying workers in the Ukrainian city of Marhanets, killing 9 people. The emergency service said that several fires broke out in residential buildings, warehouses and garages were damaged. The strikes came as both President Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have signaled that they would be willing to negotiate. If bilateral talks occur, it would be the first time the 2 sides had held direct negotiations since the early days of the war. Meanwhile, the UK government said that Ukraine peace talks, which were scheduled to take place in London on Wednesday, have been postponed, but a meeting of lower-level officials will still take place. US President Donald Trump will be on a tri-national visit to the Middle East. Trump will travel to Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates from the 13th of May until the 16th of May, as confirmed by his spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt, on Tuesday. This will be his second foreign trip since assuming office this year on January 20. The trip will be followed by Trump's planned arrival at the Vatican for the funeral of Pope Francis on Saturday. The trip aims to bolster ties with Middle Eastern nations, with Saudi Arabia being the country in focus, as it was the first destination of his previous presidency back in 2017. Notably, the visit comes at a time when the US is engaged in nuclear talks with Iran and is in key discussions with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on trade and regional instability. Two US judges on Tuesday extended temporary blocks on some deportations of Venezuelan migrants and signaled that President Donald Trump's invocation of a 1798 law may not survive judicial review. US District Judge wrote in a ruling that Trump's administration must give Venezuelan migrants detained in Colorado a notice of 21 days in advance before any deportations under the Alien Enemies Act, and must inform them of their right to challenge their removal. And a judge in Manhattan appeared inclined to require the administration to notify Venezuelans at least 10 days in advance before deporting them under the 18th century law. The Alien Enemies Act authorizes the president to deport, detain or place restrictions on individuals whose primary allegiance is to a foreign power and who might pose a national security risk in wartime. Tesla CEO Elon Musk said on Tuesday that he would significantly reduce the time he devotes to Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, from next month and will focus on running his multiple companies. Musk said he will cut back his role in the Trump administration as the company's latest profits and revenues showed a plunge during the beginning of the year. Musk's comment came after his company reported disappointing first quarter results, including a 20% year-over-year slump in automotive revenue and 71% plunge in net income.
The large slug of work necessary to get the DOGE team in place and working in the government to get the financial house in order is mostly done. So I think I'll continue to spend, a day or two per week on government matters for as long as the president would like me to do so, and as long as it is useful. But starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla.
A deep sense of loss hangs over St. Peter's Basilica as preparations are underway for Pope Francis' funeral on the 26th of April. On Wednesday, his mortal remains were taken in a solemn procession from Casa Santa Marta to St. Peter's Basilica. Cardinals accompanied the open casket as it passed through St. Peter's Square, where worshippers gathered and applauded the late Pope. Meanwhile, security has been stepped up around Vatican City. Metal detectors, X-ray scanners and a no-fly zone over Rome are all in place to ensure safety ahead of the ceremony. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. President of Chile, Gabriel Boric, held a meeting with President of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, emphasizing support for multilateralism in a world challenged by the American tariff war, refusing to choose between commercial partners. Brazil and Chile reaffirmed their commitment to international trade and globalization during a bilateral meeting held during Boric's state visit to Brazil. Ghana's President John Mahama has initiated a fresh bid to woo back Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger to the West African bloc ECOWAS after the junta-led countries quit earlier this year. Ghana has appointed a special envoy to initiate high-level conversations with the Alliance of Sahel States at the launch of the bloc's 50th anniversary celebrations in Accra. Ghana's President John Mahama has initiated a fresh bid to woo back Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger to the West African bloc ECOWAS after the junta-led countries quit earlier this year. Ghana has appointed a special envoy to initiate high-level conversations with the Alliance of Sahel States at the launch of the bloc's 50th anniversary celebrations in Accra. A sense of insecurity is growing in DR Congo's city of Bukavu, currently under the control of M23 armed group. As peace talks between the Congolese government and M23 rebels in Doha drag on, locals find it difficult to survive, displacing millions and leaving thousands dead. Despite recent meetings between Congolese officials and M23 representatives, a resolution remains elusive. The International Monetary Fund on Tuesday slashed its growth forecast for the United States, China and most countries, citing the impact of American tariffs now at 100-year highs. The IMF released an update to its world economic outlook after US President Donald Trump announced universal tariffs on nearly all trading partners and tariff rates. The IMF now forecasts global growth at 2.8% for 2025, a sharp 0.5 percentage points reduction from its January estimate, with a further slowdown to 3% projected for 2026. The IMF has called the report a reference forecast based on developments through April 4, citing the extreme complexity and fluidity of the current moment. IMF chief economist Pierre-Olivier Gorenchas said that these forecasts were based on developments up to April 4 and the situation remains highly uncertain.
Beyond the abrupt increase in tariffs, the surge in policy uncertainty is a major driver of the economic outlook. If sustained, the increase in trade tensions and uncertainty will slow global growth significantly.
In a surprising twist that sent shocks soaring and the dollar bouncing back, US President Trump reassured investors he wouldn't fire Fed Chair Powell while teasing potential tariff relief from China. Trump indicated that tariffs on Chinese imports would decrease significantly following a deal, though not to zero. Here's a report.
Stock markets were enjoying a much-needed relief rally in Asia on Wednesday after US President Donald Trump said he had no plans to fire the head of the Fed Reserve and hinted at lower tariffs for China. Investors welcomed the comments. In Japan, the benchmark Nikkei climbed after stock market opened in the morning. South Korea's benchmark stock index rose to the highest level since April 2nd. Singapore, Jakarta and Hong Kong's benchmark also rose, though Shanghai and Manila edged down. The dollar jumped sharply across the board after Trump backed off from threats to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell after days of intensifying criticisms of the central bank chief for not cutting interest rates.
No, I have no intention of firing him. I would like to see him be a little more active in terms of his idea to lower interest rates. This is a perfect time to lower interest rates. If he doesn't, is it the end? No, it's not. But it would be good timing. It could have taken place earlier. But no, I have no intention to fire him.
Trump also softened his stand on China tariffs, expressing optimism that he would make progress with China. He also said China tariffs would not be anywhere near 145%, adding that high tariffs on goods from China will come down substantially, but it won't be zero.
145% is very high, and it won't be that high. It's not going to be that high. It got up to that. We were talking about fentanyl, where various elements built it up to 145. No, it won't be anywhere near that high. It used to be zero. We were just destroyed. China was taking us for a ride, and just not going to have. It's not going to happen. We're going to be very good to China. Have a great relationship with President Xi, but they would make billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, and they would build their military out of the United States and what they made. So that won't happen.
Trump's remarks were in response to earlier comments by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who said the high tariffs were unsustainable, and he expects a de-escalation in the trade war between the world's two largest economies. Anamika Pandey's report for DD India.
On to sports news now. In cricket, Pat Cummins-led Sunrisers Hyderabad will take on Hardik Pandya's Mumbai Indians in the 41st match of the Indian Premier League on Wednesday. With only 2 wins and 7 outings, Pat Cummins' side are placed at the 9th position on points table. The campaign has been riddled with inconsistency, especially in the batting department. On the other hand, the Mumbai Indians arrive in Hyderabad riding high on momentum. After a shaky start to the season, the five-time champions have bounced back emphatically with 3 consecutive wins. Also in the MI versus SRH clash, the players and umpires will be wearing black armbands in memory of Pahalgam terrorist attack victims. Meanwhile, KL Rahul smashed a half-century and guided Delhi Capitals to an 8-wicket victory over his former franchisee Lucknow Super Giants in their IPL clash on Tuesday night. Delhi's foundation for victory was established by opener Abhishek Porel. Alongside his excellent batting performance, Akshar Patel also played crucial knock with the bat. Meanwhile, captain Rishabh Pant proved yet again to be disappointing by losing his wicket without scoring a run during the match. Pant came out to bat at number 7 as Lucknow managed a total of only 159. Only Aidan Makram stood up for Lucknow, slamming a 50 and taking 2 wickets. The win has strengthened Delhi's position to qualify for the playoffs because of their improved chances. In soccer, Manchester City secured a crucial 2-1 Premier League victory over Aston Villa on Tuesday. The match appeared to be heading for a draw after Marcus Rashford's penalty cancelled out Silva's goal in the first half. However, City's Matthews Nunes found the back of the net in the dying minutes of the game to lead his team to victory. With this win, City climbed up to 3rd spot in the points table, while Villa remains at the 7th place. And in football, Real Madrid coach Carlo Ancelotti has revealed that striker Kylian Mbappe will return from injury to face rivals Barcelona in the Copa del Rey final on Saturday. Real Madrid boss said that both Mbappe and left-back Ferland are training hard to be fit for the crucial game. Mbappe missed Madrid's La Liga match against Athletic Bilbao on Sunday and will not be available for the game against Getafe on Wednesday. The French superstar was substituted with an ankle problem during Madrid's Champions League loss to Arsenal last week. That's it in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do share your thoughts with us on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.